speech to troops at Tilbury. A lot of interesting information on her. You don't need to necessarily know for the test on 254 or so, but it helps to understand the character that she had, why she was such a strong ruler, why she was so much loved and revered, and up to even now. I may have told you the other day that along with her, maybe Queen Victoria in the 1800s. I mean, those were the two big-time monarchs, queens, kings of their history, that especially females. So very integral woman in history, and it's kind of neat to see a little bit about what she believed and such. Interesting, underneath the political savvy area there, talking about how she had a cousin, Mary Queen of Scots. Attempted to kill her, but she put her in the Tower of London, and then eventually, after repeated attempts at assassinations, then she finally had her executed. But she seemed to be somewhat of a merciful individual, not so bloodthirsty like Bloody Mary, her older sister, or older half-sister, I guess. So it's always important to remember that timeline that we went over in class, the Henry's daughters and such, how this one was more accepting of religion, of allowing you to practice what you like, even though she held on to her father's belief. Really kind of neat to see how smart she is. Look at the bottom portion of that paragraph where we stopped, talking about possibly hinting at a possible marriage to King Philip II of Spain. Elizabeth stalled him from attacking England until she had built a stronger nation with which to resist a Spanish invasion. Now you got to remember, the very first wife of Henry was Catherine of Aragon. She was the Spanish ancestry, Spanish nobility. Okay, so in Spain's eyes, she is the true king. So she's the true queen, and all of the others don't count. They're null and void. So that means any offspring of the others would be null and void. She's the daughter of Anne Boleyn, the one who he remarried after the divorce. And so other people consider Elizabeth and that bloodline to be no. We should be able to put somebody in line because Queen Catherine and it was Bloody Mary, but Queen Mary, they're gone, so now we get to put a family member in there. And so they were thinking about invading. And she kept kind of flirting with Philip, not necessarily saying she's going to marry him, but not necessarily saying she's not. And as she's stalling him, she's building up her navy. Okay, have you heard of the term Spanish Armada? Okay, I mean, that was the biggest, wonderful, strongest naval, very famous, in the early world. And she kind of kept stringing them along, so she built her, navy back here, so that when they eventually do invade, because they do, and that's where our speech to Tilbury begins, she has something to counter with it. Because if she didn't, they could probably just come and overrun them and swarm them. Okay, so really smart woman. Very interesting. We find out, a little bit more how she chose not to marry, things like that, because could you blame her, seeing what happened to all the women that her dad wasn't the pillar of, that's the way a marriage should run. And so, didn't go with it. On the building background of 255, the speech to the troops at Tilbury, they're on the point of England, on the water, where when Spain is coming, the Armada's coming, and when they make landfall, it's going to be here. And there's going to be a battle. Kind of like if you've seen the movie Troy. Okay, when Achilles and Brad Pitt show up. Okay, they make land on the beach, and there's a battle right away. And they secure the beach before the rest of the, I think it's the rest of the Greeks show up. And it's very similar here. They are getting ready to welcome in an invading horde force coming to take over their country. People would probably be a little scared. Okay, you have the greatest armada, Navy Armada, coming and probably going to overrun your country, which isn't, geographically, it's not that big, is it? No. And so it's not even, they're not even united at this time. It's just really England there. And so, they're worried. Now, this is a very famous speech, and we're going to refer to this again a couple months down the road when we talk about Winston Churchill. You heard about him. from World War II. He's going to give a speech. Both of the speeches are given to their followers, their people that they're responsible for, the commoners and such. And each one of them is, impending doom. With what's his name? Churchill, it's the Nazi invasion and Hitler going to come and start bombing. And we're going to look at how he talks them up and gives them pride and gives them hope. We're going to see her do the exact same thing. They're just going to be several hundred years in between, but yet they're both strong and very resounding. Okay? Listen to the selection.
Speech to the troops at Tilbury. Elizabeth I. My loving people, we have been persuaded by some that are careful of our safety to take heed how we commit ourselves to armed multitudes for fear of treachery. But I assure you, I do not desire to live to distrust my faithful and loving people. Let tyrants fear. I have always so behaved myself that, under God, I have placed my chiefest strength and safeguard in the loyal hearts and good will of my subjects. And therefore I am come amongst you, as you see, at this time, not for my recreation and disport, but being resolved, in the midst and heat of the battle, to live or die amongst you all, to lay down for my God, and for my kingdom, and my people, my honor and my blood, even in the dust. I know I have the body but of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too. And think foul scorn that Parma or Spain or any prince of Europe should dare to invade the borders of my realm. To which rather than any dishonor shall grow by me, I myself will take up arms. I myself will be your general, judge, and rewarder of every one of your virtues in the field. I know already, for your forwardness you have deserved rewards and crowns, and we do assure you, in the word of a prince, they shall be duly paid you. In the meantime, my lieutenant general shall be in my stead, than whom never prince commanded a more noble or worthy subject, not doubting but by your obedience to my general, by your concord in the camp, and your valor in the field, we shall shortly have a famous victory over those enemies of my God, of my kingdom, and of my people.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about her rhetoric, her use of words. You've studied speeches throughout your schooling, studying JFK speeches or Martin Luther King speeches. What makes them memorable, what makes them strong, repetition here and there, throwing in maybe some allusions here. But this is a very strong piece because, just imagine the impending battle that's coming. And you're talking to people who are laying down their lives for you, the Queen. And she comes down amongst them. Excuse me, the very first line, my loving people, the greeting. We have been persuaded by some that are careful of our safety to take heed how we commit ourselves to our multitudes for fear of treachery. So we've been persuaded by some, we've been told by some to, be careful because of treachery. We shouldn't be walking around armed masses for fear of my life. That's what some people are telling me. But I assure you, I do not desire to live to distrust my faithful and loving people. Let tyrants fear. Let those bad people, dictators, fear. Why would I be fearful of my people that I love so much? She's going to do a very good job, and you'll see some examples here when I bring them to light, of bringing herself off that pedestal and bringing herself down to their level and making them feel much, much better and much more at ease. So let tyrants fear. I have always so behaved myself that under God I have placed my chiefest strength and safeguard in the loyal hearts and goodwill of my subjects. So I put my life in your hands, and I'm gracious and happy to do so. Therefore I have come amongst you. The next line, I'm going to live or die amongst you all, to lay down for my God and for my kingdom and my people, my honor and my blood, even in the dust. we have this parallel structure. Okay, this is a lit term that you guys will have if you haven't had this already. You know, this kind of repetition, the same type of sentence structure. It's for emphasis. Okay, you know, my God, and my kingdom, and my people, my honor, and my blood, even in the dust. I've come to bleed with you. Now, do we really expect her to pick up a sword and start fighting with them? No. And it even says that here later on. But she is still there in spirit nonetheless and still agrees with the cause and such. And here's where it gets real interesting in that how she kind of equates herself to them, but really shows them, hey, even though, you know, we're commoners, we are still English, and we are still strong and resilient. I know I have the body but of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too. So I see you guys see me an old and weak woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king. And not just any king, but a king of us, a king of England. So I have the resolve, I have the strength, the intestinal fortitude to really kind of take this to the next level with you guys. And I take, and think foul scorn that Parma or Spain or any prince of Europe should dare to invade the borders of my realm, to which rather than any dishonor shall grow by me, I myself will take up arms. I myself will be your general, judge, and rewarder of every one of your virtues in the field. So anything you do here, I will reward you, I'll praise you, I will be here for you, I will support you. Again, do we expect her to be out there fighting with a sword and shield? Obviously not. Okay, obviously not. However, you know, she is still saying that I'm here for you. We are all together. She appoints a lieutenant there towards the end to command my presence out here. So he's kind of my proxy, and he will be out here with you. And imagine, I mean, a pep talk. This is a big rallying pep talk cry. It's kind of like one of these type things in Impending Doom. If you ever seen the movie Independence Day, just a blow-em-up space alien movie. It's kind of interesting, Will Smith. Right at the end, they're getting ready to fight all of the alien spacecrafts. And the President of the United States gets up on top of a plane and addresses all of the crop dusters and regular skydiving pilots. I mean, just normal people. But he's getting ready to suit up and fight with them. Now, in that one, he's going to fight because he's used to be a fighter pilot. But you know, he brings himself down to their level, and he gives that big speech. Today, you know, we fight. Today is our Independence Day. Title of the movie, okay? And so we will, you know, we are going to face extermination, and we will fight and have our independence, and blah, blah, blah. It's very similar to this. The Spanish Armada, a horde of aliens invading, that type of thing. But we still see this type of speech played out in movies and TV shows all the time. But this one is, you know, hundreds of years old by one of the greatest rulers in English history and a great woman role model. So that's an outstanding piece. The very last line, look at those last two lines. We shall shortly have a famous victory over those enemies of my God, of my kingdom, and of my people. Look at the order of that. One might say that the very first one is the most important, but couldn't you look at it and think that the last one is the most important? And my people. Think about who her audience is. These people going to almost certain death and to fight for her. And yes, they are coming to attack her God because they aren't, you know, a Catholic nation anymore. They're going to come and attack my kingdom, which is all my people, but they're coming to attack what I hold most dear to my heart, my people. Okay? So this is a wonderful speech. It's very short. It's a great speech to look at the word choice in order to get the message across, and it reads pretty well, I think. There's a link on Moodle if you want to take some time to look at it later from the movie, I think it's Queen Elizabeth. It was with Helen Mirren, who won an Oscar for playing Elizabeth in a later movie. But I think it's just about half of the speech you get to see. And you see her walking around amongst everybody while giving the speech. And you see her smiling, and everybody, yeah. You know, it's kind of like, you know, Braveheart before the big battle. Yeah, fight for her, whatever. And everybody's like, yeah. You know, that's the type of mentality that showed up here as a result of her words. So a very good speech, and you know, it's nonfiction. It's real. the other stuff, you know, poetry and that type of fiction we read, but, you know, kind of a historical document here. So that's kind of neat.